to j6support.com and donate today.
To the show, everybody. Mike Crispi here, and on this episode of Last Call, we have a special report edition, fraud from the Somalis. What is going on in Minnesota? We are going to break it all down, put it all together for you so you understand what is being run on you, the American taxpayer, the biggest scam in the history of America. We'll get into all that and so much more. A big show tonight. I'm ready. Frankie's ready. You better be too, and let's go. We are going to be too big to win.
Mike Crispi, where's Mike? Man, did he make a good speech. Thank you, Mike. You have big plans for the future, and we're with you.
And welcome back to the show, everybody. Mike Crispi here, coming to you live from New York. Saturday night, Real America's Voice. Great to be back with you. Last week's show was a doozy. And joining me, as always, through thick and thin, when the news cycles are insane and when the news cycles are a little bit more chill, the most bass producer in the game. I think he's eating bananas and rice over there behind the keyboard. Frankie, are you channeling your inner Somali over there? What's going on, Frankie?
Relax. Only spaghetti with fork, spoon, combination. All right, that's what you're going to see out of me. Good to be here.
They say there's like a quote out there that says you can like look into the soul of like a population based on how they eat, like their eating habits. I think about it, like in some countries, like they don't use silverware, they just eat with their hands and all this. In some, it's like very proper. Think about Japan, like they're cutting the sushi and it's very like portioned out. Like in Italy, it's like it's the pastas and the intricate dishes with all the spices and sauces. And then in Somali, it's gravel, okay, with stuff sprayed on the top of it. So there you go. Just ask Jacob Fry what he thinks about Somali food. So anyway, I do want to start the show here by saying that last week was a wild episode because obviously the whole Alex Preddy thing, the scam, the Antifa connection, all of that is the terror cell that is protecting Somali fraud. That's why it happens in Minnesota. That's why Tim Walz was chosen as the vice presidential candidate, because he can tap into this vast fraud network, which he did. That's why Kamala raised so much money. And this is all done to enrich Democrat politicians in a way, I think, that we've never seen before in terms of the scale of the organized crime. I think this goes up to the top. I think this goes to the bottom and everyone in between taking a piece of it, allowing, empowering, enabling, and coaching this Somali population, totally void of any morality, okay? Totally void of any morality. They're not Christians over there in Somalia. They're like some type of, tribal pirate belief system, okay? These are not normal people. And these people are carrying out the mass scale fraud, which is taking billions of your tax dollars, washing it through, getting a lot of it back to the politicians. They're getting rich too. The voting bloc is happy. They stay in power. A lot of them make money. They donate it out to other campaigns around the country. They donated a lot of it into the 2024 presidential campaign for Kamala. And we have seen a model that, unfortunately, I think they'd like to replicate in a lot of major cities across the country. Now, this whole Somali thing started, I think it was back in the day, Frankie, there was a civil war in Somalia, and we took a couple of refugees. We took like 80,000 refugees. We moved them to Minnesota because it was cheap. We were doing our goodwill, our charity as America. You take in refugees. This happened years ago, 30, 40 years ago. We take in these people, we put them in the country, they're there. I guess it's a nice thing to do. It's only 80,000 people, no big deal. They're skillless and they're clinically retarded, but who cares, right? I mean, it's a good thing to do as America. But then the unchecked, encouraged, NGO-enabled invasion starts. These Somalians aren't even smart enough to use a fork. You think they're smart enough to figure out how to get into America and finesse our entitlement system? So how is that all happening? And what are they doing? I am of the firm belief that this population was coached and made a deal, and that they carry out what they need to do because they are the dumbest of the earth. How is that racist? It's not racist. It's true. They have the lowest IQ per capita on the planet. The perfect people for the modern day vile, vicious, globalist, anti-American leftists to capitalize on. Do you see how that's kind of like a marriage, a match made in heaven? And when you bring people into the country in an unchecked fashion, you give them the entitlements, you get them voting rights, you help them become naturalized. By the time you realize it, you have elections in Minnesota being decided on ancient tribal alliances and not on, things that used to matter in America, like taxes and, fixing roads and, infrastructure projects. And no. It's about Somali conflicts that go back to the other side of the world. So instead of these people being grateful when they got here for everything America has done for them, they became co-opted by some very bad, smarter people, Democrats, and they became part of what has become since the biggest fraud scheme in the history of the world, I think. And I believe, Frankie, it was actually Democrats who started, reeling in a little bit of the Somali fraud because they were like, this is getting out of hand. You can't be doing it at this level.
None of the money's going to me.
Because they probably weren't. Yeah, exactly. You took the words out of my mouth because I was going to say they probably did it because they weren't getting enough kickbacks. So they said, all right, we're going to start indicting you. You're not kicking us back enough. But it is very bad. And on this episode, we do want to talk a little bit about that. We want to break down things we're seeing, things we're hearing, just so you know the true extent of what's going on. So let's start with how Somalis, people say it's remember when Elon Musk Doge was saying that people are claiming welfare and they're claiming Social Security until the age of 130 and that, they're taking these benefits when they're dead and everyone said that was unfounded. Remember that? And then you say, all right, could that possibly, that was Elon Musk talking more broadly, Somalis are fraudsters, but I thought they're just fraudsters with daycares, right? Watch this clip. You'll be mind blown. Roll it.
You ever looked at cardiac arrests involving Somalis? It's like, I kind of grokked what she was getting to, and I was like, you mean are Somalis dying of natural causes and being reported? And she was like, yeah. She's like, I was talking with Minneapolis police officers, and none of them ever remember responding to a cardiac arrest, aneurysm, stroke of a older Somali person. And just looking at the actuarial tables, you would think 100,000 people out there, the odds say that some of them are going to have heart attacks, they're going to die, and then the police or the emergency services are going to be called to respond. None of the police officers ever remember going to a Somali DOA. And so I go to some of my sources in the Lewiston Police Department and ask, do you remember ever responding to Somali DOA's cardiac events? They start laughing. We were just talking about this at the station and no one really remembers responding to Somali DOAs. So what's happening? Based on that sample, it's not totally scientific, but we know there's some natural deaths happening from medical events within the Somali community that are not being reported to the state, to the medical authorities, to EMS. Now, why is that? So what happens if grandma's got subsidized senior housing, an EBT card, and Medicaid benefits, and you report that she's passed away? Okay, so those benefits get shut off. Everybody can understand. Yeah, you just keep the benefits going. This is how you end up with Social Security, or more so the EBT cards, benefits going to dead people. But what are they doing with the bodies?
That's what I was going to ask.
What are they doing with the bodies?
This music.
Well,
I don't know.
Interesting when they find that.
Okay. So, that clip, I mean, that's serious. It's obviously happening. I mean, again, these people, they're not like you and me. Oh, you die, you go to the funeral home. This is how stupid these leftist, whites are, okay? The puffy liberal women. They are so ridiculous. Like, they can't think that these people wouldn't, they're not like us as a society. Someone dies, you call, they come, DOA, dead on arrival, they take them to the morgue, they put them in the funeral home, they have the funeral, they lay them into the ground, you have a ceremony. These people come from the third world. They come from the worst conditions on the planet. And by the way, do you see the footage of these areas in Minneapolis where the Somalis have inhabited? I've been to foreign countries and I've passed through like the third worldist areas, like in certain third world countries. It just looks so run down, so dilapidated. And it's uncanny how these people, within a decade of being here, make the streets of America look like the third world shithole in which they came from. That didn't exist in Minnesota 50 years ago. You didn't see streets that looked like hellscapes from Somalia. I'm telling you, go look at some of these videos and pay attention to the surroundings in which places like Nick Shirley and John Rocker and anybody else there. Go look at the surroundings when they're walking around. Just look how bad it is. It doesn't look like America. These people live completely different. How could you be called racist for saying that? Again, the statistics are that half of them are inbred and half of them are malnourished. Because there's severe disease and severe food shortage, and they're all inbred. So statistically, 80% of them have serious deficiencies. You think that they're calling up the funeral home and burying the bodies? What do you think they're doing? Somebody taught them that you could scam the system this way and you can keep making money. What skill are they going to contribute? Oh, Mike, your Italian ancestors came. They were immigrants too. My ancestors, they built the subway. They opened restaurants. They were carpenters. They were construction workers. They were accountants. They did things. These people don't do things. They come from the land of pirates. So how does it happen? Yes, Frankie, go ahead.
I'll just say, hey, there's one thing that they could possibly help us out with in the future. They're going to bring the prices of homes down in Minnesota when they start digging up Granny in the backyard and they sell the place. What is happening, Mike? Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it's just when you have a world that is from such a distant land that I think people are just, they're not well traveled. They just haven't been to other places. Like, you don't understand how different the world is in other places of the world. And everyone wants to kumbaya, Frankie, the libs. Oh, we're one big globalist world, and oh, this is so great, and oh, they love us. Those Somalis would slit your throat. I said it last week. They'll slit your throat for a nickel. You think they care? You think one Somali cares about Renee Good or Alex Preddy? They don't give a damn. It's people like Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison who are sitting there behind the scenes laughing with the leaders of the Somalis. And when I say leader, that's the guy with the 72 IQ, by the way. Get it? That's the leader of the Somalis. And they're laughing at you. They're laughing at how they take advantage of the liberal white. So who's really the stupidest person? I mean, I mean, if those people are getting one over on us, then what is the IQ of the American liberal white? Again, they've done a lot to try to destroy the IQs of Americans. You know, putting chemicals in the water, destroying the food supply with toxic sludge. The school system is extremely destabilized, 24/7 propaganda to dumb you down on the news. So, yeah, maybe the IQs are now evening out. Maybe I shouldn't be so hard on it. This is Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, directly in line with this crime. Roll it.
The election is very important.
Yes, it is.
So, can you tell us why the Somali communities are very important for the election?
Well, the Somali community is critical. In my own election, I wouldn't be in office without the help of the Somali community. Okay. Somali voters came out in very large numbers and were able to register people to vote. Very recently I think there was several thousand Somalis who were just naturalized as U.S. citizens. Yeah. Somalis can make a huge impact on this election. And I can tell you without a doubt, it's not just in Minnesota that Somalis make a big difference in the election. Also in Ohio, which is a battleground state. Somalis that are in Columbus, Ohio, and in Virginia all have a role and opportunity to play a very...
So you hear he asks about how they can impact. And all this guy does is go back to what he's really talking about behind closed doors, is that it's a numbers game. He's not saying, oh, they're going to contribute because they're going to build businesses and they're going to create jobs and all this. He goes back to this depraved talking points on these numbers that they're running behind the scenes, talking about if they import enough and enable enough to do fraud to distribute out to the communities, okay? So they're happy, they're in on it, they'll go take care of what they need to take care of. And they're a bunch of low IQ thugs. You see the Somalis get in the face of the Americans who show up at the daycare centers. More on that in a minute. But let's talk about Keith Ellison a little bit more. This is happening in the Minnesota State House. People are calling out the fact that this guy, in recorded conversations, is complicit with the crimes. Roll it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Attorney General was asked in those recordings to use his authority to protect businesses under investigation for wrongdoing, and rather than distance himself or remain neutral to allow the legal process to unfold, he responded in those recordings, of course, I'm here to help.
Mr. Speaker. Point of parliamentary inquiry.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, there was a point of order, and I didn't hear a ruling or any resolution of the point of order. Was there a resolution to it?
They try to slow this
I'll
down.
remind the body that there was no ruling made by the Speaker as to the point of order that was just stated. Representative Niska.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Attorney General in those recordings even urged the individuals, let's go fight these people. He was offered campaign contributions during that meeting, contributions that he later accepted. The release of those audio recordings raises questions about what's going on in the Attorney General's office that go directly to the need to pass the legislation that we had previously debated, House File 20. Although he has insisted that nothing came of the meeting, his office lost disclosure of closed investigative
point
data.
Of order.
Based since 124.
The A11 will help ensure that what happens behind closed doors in the Attorney General's office sees the light of day. We can protect people's privacy while...
So you see there, you have Democrats who were impeding this guy in the Minnesota State House from talking about the fact that, again, this isn't like a conspiracy. Oh, it's racist, it's conspiracy. They're on tape. They're on tape talking together about these things. And they're on tape talking about the campaign contributions and doing this thing. And it's so obvious and dead to rights. But they're doing nothing about it from the top on down. The biggest organized crime in human history. All right, quick break. We'll be talking way more about this in the next segment. Don't go anywhere.
With riots and violent looting going on all over the country, I don't feel safe leaving the house without this banana. Normally, I would be worried about this creepy guy, but I've got my banana with me. That same car has been sitting outside my house for a while now. Better keep this banana by the door.
Sounds ridiculous, right? Now imagine this banana was capable of incapacitating an attacker from over 60 feet.
At Byrna, we don't sell bananas. Go to Byrna.com to learn more.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
I'm a J6er, and I spent 3 months in jail and about a year in prison.
I spent 4 years out of an 18-year sentence
in prison.
J6ers have been smeared and defamed by the media, persecuted by the government, and treated like terrorists.
In reality, J6ers are patriotic men and women, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers from all walks of life.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
And we need your help.
For just $10 or more, you're helping these patriots get mental, physical, and spiritual help.
Please scan the QR code or go to j6support.com to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Go now to j6support.com and donate today.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Go now to j6support.com and donate today.
And welcome back to the show, everybody. Mike Crispi here, and our special continues on Somali fraud. How is it affecting you, your family? What can be done here? And just how deep does it go? Fox News host Will Cain did a breakdown of the now more than $1 billion that seems to be lost. Think about it, more than $1 billion of cash. It would have never even have been in question if we didn't allow this to happen. How's that a good deal? Even if it turns out that they stole $990 million, or whether it's $1 billion or $10 billion, the fact that these people who came into the country as an act of charity would steal from us, and now we have to look into it and spend millions of dollars in government resources to track it down, it just goes to show you how broken the system is. Let's listen to Will Cain.
Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison. We see a web of connections between them and those directly involved in the fraud. For example, Ilhan Omar alleged enabling introducing the 2020 Meals Act, which was ultimately subject to fraud. Held a campaign victory party at the Safari restaurant. That's where one of the men who run that restaurant has associations to the convicted individuals. And then there's Tim Walz, House Oversight Investigation role in his role as governor. Or Keith Ellison, the Attorney General. His job is to enforce the law in Minnesota, but instead he's getting donations after meeting with the Feeding Our Future representatives. The Feeding Our Future, the biggest known yet part of this entire theft.
It's deep. And these are the people who are involved in it. These are the central members of it. So when Ilhan Omar does a fake attack on herself, she's right at the center of it. She's introducing the legislation to create the money from the federal government that flows into Minnesota. Ellison is responsible with the laws of Minnesota, and Tim Walz is responsible with carrying it all out, dishing out all the money. Do you see how broken? Do you see how these three people are the most vicious criminals, some of the most vicious in American history? I mean, Frankie, am I right here? It's like it could not be more of an organized crime lab if you tried. Ilhan Omar gets the money from federal appropriations. Ellison is the law enforcement buffer, supposedly. And Walz is the guy who takes the money from the federal appropriations and dishes it out to the right people. They're all so guilty. Yes.
Well, while Kash Patel goes after the old mob, there's clearly a new mob, and I mean racketeering charges. Yes. Can we get anything? I mean, Ilhan Omar, take all this away. She illegally got her brother into the country.
Yes.
By lying.
She married her brother.
Get her out of here. She should have been on thin ice before this. How are we at this point? And you said, does it matter? 900 million, $1 billion? I would argue if it was $5, Mike, it's unacceptable, and we need to get to the bottom of it.
It just shows how much these people detest us, how much they loathe the United States of America, how little they think of you. They think you're a sucker. They think you, the white American, are a sucker. And I'm telling you, this country isn't being undone by Somali fraudsters. It's being undone by the white liberals who were like, either, now again, there's not as many people making money on the fraud to where like they can do it alone. They need to create public sentiment. And the fact that public sentiment has sympathy for these people, and that if you try to deport people, they say, well, I'm good with the deportations, but I don't like the heavy-handed tactics. How do you get rid of people that have a money spigot of billions of dollars set up in a nice little ring, which Will Kane just laid out? How do you get rid of those people exactly? Do you nicely give them a blankie and put them on a flight? How does that work? It's going to take a little muscle, don't you think? It's unbelievable. And here is, I believe we have this clip here of Tim Walz, who, again, at the center of this thing. Yeah, that right there, Frankie. We got this Tim Walz right at the center of it. Let's roll this.
We're announcing a $56.6 million grant program that is coming out of the COVID relief fund money that will go in front of the Legislative Council that will hopefully approve and send these on.
Governor Walz says the money is meant to support the increased costs and decreased revenue due to COVID-19. The grant program would be available to more than 6,000 home providers and 1,100 center providers. The governor also spoke on the potential of kids returning to school in the fall.
Do you see how it all links back? Where did Jill Biden, where was one of her last trips, Frankie? Where was one of her last trips? She went to Minnesota Daycare facility. Right? Tim Walz announcing the funding of the Minnesota daycares. Like, they're all in on it. Jill Biden just doesn't happen to find herself at a Minnesota daycare facility doing one of her last visits while she illegitimately occupies the White House. It's coordinated. And Tim Walz there announcing that. They're taking the COVID relief money. It also makes you think, and I've said this in previous shows, how COVID was obviously such a scam wealth transfer. I believe it was. I think it was basically a license to steal. It was a license to destroy real estate values in certain states. It was a license to cause, different migration patterns within the country. It was a license to crack down and set precedents on, the restrictions and obviously inject you with, the chemical experimental drug that many people put in their arms. It's like Tim Walz is just giving it away right there, telling us that he was at the center of it. So you think he just didn't know what he was doing? He's literally announcing it there on camera for the world to see that he was giving $50 million of daycare money, saying it proudly to Minnesota. Now that we know Minnesota daycare facilities are all a front for crime, do you think Tim Walz is at the center of crime and that he then should be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law? Why not? They arrested Trump 4 times. We can't arrest some podunk Chinese communist loyal governor? By the way, Frank, I also was reading how Tim Walz has helped the Chinese Communist Party negotiate several contract deals and stuff like that. This is a bad guy. He's done 35 trips to China. This is not a normal guy.
I mean,
it's really bad.
It ain't Florida.
Yeah.
What?
It's bad. So Nick Shirley, who we all know by now, who is rose to viral fame, he kind of broke the doors off this whole thing and exposed the fraud more than Kesh Patel could, which is a whole nother conversation. But Nick Shirley, it was continuing on with this work, and it's not just these isolated cases. Take a look at where his continued travels have taken him, and look at how these smug, arrogant Somalis get. I see the Somalis, they go, oh, U.S. Constitution, U.S. Constitution. These people don't give a shit about the U.S. Constitution. They probably don't even know what that is. They were giving a talking point to, I guess, say that if they were coming under fire about someone filming them. Oh, we have constitutional rights. Really? Do you know what that is? Do you know how to spell the word Constitution? Listen to these people. Roll this.
We left and we headed over to the next building that had 22 of the same home health care providers operating from inside of the building.
Right here you have multicultural home care. And right here it says it's open, but can't even get in. Another Reliance Recovery Center. Mercy and Grace Care, Inc. Right here you have Denden Eritrean Youth Development Association of Minnesota. Another Child Care Center. Welcome to Bright Beginning Center. But what do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Sorry. No comments. Can I please?
Right here you have Serenity Quality Care, All of these businesses are literally the same type of business, providing the same service in the same building. Another, Convenience Home Healthcare, Aid, Inc., and Child Friendly Space. All these companies get money from the government. Why would you have the same company essentially inside of the same building, door to door? Right here, Queenly Home Healthcare. It just does not make sense. If you're trying to operate a business, you'd want to have less competition. But here, they have all of their competition right next door. We're wondering, because we hear there's lots of fraud taking place here in Minnesota, and we're wondering, why is there so many of the same companies inside of this same building?
No, I don't know that.
What do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
I don't have any idea about that fraud, okay? That's it.
What do you think about the news articles and what's being spread on the news about the fraud?
Right now, you are doing something wrong.
I'm just asking you.
No, you
about
don't have
fraud.
to ask me, okay? Don't ask me that question again.
Okay.
Okay?
Who can I speak to? Who can I speak to? Okay. As soon as you confront about the fraud, they get angry. When these people have these home healthcare companies, you're seeing them everywhere inside this building. What kind of fraud are they committing?
So there's false documentation being submitted to the state of Minnesota for services never provided. They're having forms signed in advance for services that were then never rendered. As far as a year or 2 years in advance, they'll have someone sign these forms at one sitting, and then they just file those with the state of Minnesota, and nobody from the state of Minnesota bothers to check that those services were ever provided.
So they're essentially just using people, saying that they had these services provided months or even years ago, then filing the paperwork and then receiving money from the government.
Right, and the Somali community is a very closed community, so everybody's in on it, and they don't want to talk, as you can see.
And for this building, I'm going to give an estimate of around $30 million for how much fraud is taking place. That is a very low estimate. However, still a lot of money in fraud.
And do you think there is fraud taking place here?
I don't know. Yeah.
Do you have any idea what any of these businesses are doing?
I never ask.
I mean, just look, just look at the people that he's talking to. I'm not racist. I'm not discriminatory. Like, that guy he looks like he's inbred.
He does.
He looks inbred.
Dang.
And all these people get angry. They get a little scowl. They get bristly when you talk about it, because this is their money machine. And he's totally right. If you were operating a daycare center and you needed to turn a profit business-wise, you wouldn't put 45 daycare centers in the same building, right? Don't you think you would try to space it out in the location? You know, you try to pick the best location where you can make money, where there'd be good foot traffic, or where people lived, where people had jobs, drop their kids off. You would do it away from other daycare facilities, so like you could corner that market. They're all in the same gross, rundown building. And then the Democrats will say, well, there's no evidence. That's what they'll say. They'll see that and they'll go, there's no evidence of fraud. And it's funny because they're like, oh, Nick Shirley goes, and he goes there, and it's like, you know, they just weren't open at that time. So none of these businesses are ever open when Nick Shirley goes, ever. They're just never open. And by the way, why would a daycare center in the middle of the day, like they said, they open at 2 o'clock. So if you were there at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, no one's in there working, setting up, opening the thing, manning the building, handling paperwork. Yes, Frankie.
It's just wild. There's so many levels to this. Like, Mike, that whole building, it's like, you know, office suites that you rent. You know, me and you rented for this show once upon a time. It's like,
yeah.
Those kind of businesses, you need window traffic, you need a sign, you know, you need foot traffic. That's how you get your business. So it's just clear they're just checking the box. Like, all right, look, we have it. Here's the LLC. Here's the location. Boom, boom, boom.
By the way, you bring up a good point, Frankie. It's not easy to get these rentals, okay? No. You also have to fill out extensive paperwork to get the rental in the building, okay? Frankie and I have done, you know, with this show, we've had to rent space where they don't want to give it to us because, you know, we're podcasting, and they say it's a loud thing and we're going to make noise because we're, you know, doing a lot of, like, you know, production. It's like, okay, but these people all, like the owners of the buildings, were just able to give it to them. Yeah. They check your credit. They check the history. They go, well, if your business doesn't have a history of credit, we're going to check the personal credit of the person personally responsible. How do these people have a credit history to open up and get that lease in the building? How does that work exactly?
Also, Mike, when you have neighbors like that, like they're just going to allow you to have a daycare with a bunch of screaming children all day. That doesn't make sense either. You wouldn't get an application approved. You know, there's a lot weird about this.
it's genuinely horrible. It really is genuinely horrible. But it continued on. This is like random and it's funny, but I like it. Former Major League Baseball pitcher John Rocker, who, by the way, was ahead of his time. I mean, he had that very viral clip, Frank, you know what I'm talking about, where he said, I would never want to play for, New York because you take the train. He said you take the 7 train and it seems like you're in Beirut. You got all the foreigners. They don't speak English. They're this or that. And it's like he wasn't wrong. He just said it 15 years too early. I mean, so the guy is somewhat of a, prophecy. But John Rocker went to some of these locations, and you just got to watch this. Watch it.
Oye. Unga. I'm being screamed at in some kind of Swahili. There, come here. Film in there. Oh. All right, here we go. Here comes the fucking costume. My wife dropped my son off in this location. I need to come pick him up for a doctor's appointment. Yes, here. LeBron. No, unless my wife's lying to me.
No, I'm not an officer. I'm an evidence. No, I'm a reporter.
They got my kid in there, LeBron. Something I'm not good with.
Maybe you can provide insight or information.
Yes, we have a license. Ask them. Go to the online and ask our license. This is not your job.
No, it is my job to investigate the use of public funds.
Tell me if you have permission. I'm not going to give you anything.
I don't need permission. I'm a citizen of Ohio, and I'm a taxpayer, and I'm actually here as an investigative reporter simply to ask you if you receive government funding, if you've been visited, and what your impression is of the allegations.
Seems like really normal owners of daycares. Owners of daycares would say, "Get out of here," and they start yelling. Usually the people who are at daycare centers are really nice and sweet, and they get vicious and angry if you say, "I'm here to pick up my kid." They see a white person, they get vicious and angry, and you can see they go, "It's not your right." They just have an attitude that is just so bad, Frankie. It's just vile and evil.
I will say there's a void here, Mike. There's a lot of potential energy that could just be behind one based Somalian to just go undercover and blow the whole roof off and start a whole political career.
I don't think they have the capability.
Yeah, clearly.
That's true. That Somali would be a hero. But I think what happened is, in Somalia, I think the punishment for that is you get eaten alive, cannibalized or something like that. So I guess that's what they're afraid of. But it really is an unbelievable sight that we're witnessing. It's happening in Ohio. I saw several clips of it happening in Ohio, and that was mentioned again by Keith Ellison. Are they going to try to move them into Ohio? What happens if a Democrat governor wins Ohio? They call it a swing state. What happens if a Democrat governor wins Ohio? Are they just going to take Ohio and plunge it into the next Minnesota? What are they going to do for all these states? Everyone's like, people are, my state of New Jersey. They're like, I would say New Jersey is the most moved out of state in the country. It is. And people are like, but it's also the most moved into state. Yeah, nobody from America is moving into New Jersey. It's all foreigners. How is that a good thing? How is that a normal thing? How is that not a coordinated replacement? The same people in the state, the people in the newspaper in New Jersey said that I'm a conspiracy theory for the great replacement. It seems like a great replacement to me. Absolutely vile and disgusting. But we have much more coming here, and we're going to talk about it coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
Half protection is not enough. Using just an antivirus online is also not enough. Get better online protection with NordVPN. It will encrypt your online traffic, protect you from malware, phishing, and stop annoying ads. Get NordVPN now.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul.
For 50 years, I've watched Washington betray the American people with dishonest money. Nixon's closure of the gold window made endless debt and war inevitable. Today, our middle class, our currency, and our economy are dying in real time. In my new book, Dispatches to Future Generations, I reveal how we got here, plus the solution, gold. And that's why I'm partnering with Birch Gold Group to give you a free copy of my book along with their free info kit on gold. Click below to get both right now. Inside the info kit, you'll learn how to move your IRA or 401k into physical gold. So click below to claim your free copy of my Dispatches to Future Generations and Birch Gold's info kit today.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again.
Please scan the QR code to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for standing in the gap.
And welcome back to the show, everybody. Mike Crispi here. And, we're talking about third worlders infiltrating our country. How about the third worlder who infiltrated New York City government and took it over? Isn't that interesting? I wonder how that's going. Now, over the last couple of days in New York, we've had, massive snowfall last couple of weeks, okay? Massive snowfall. And I don't know if Zoran Madami's ever seen snow in Uganda, but a lot of snow on the ground. It's messy, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But it made me wonder, how is this city just going to get run on the day-to-day? He's a Democrat socialist. He's in there. He's got to do things like keep the roads paved, keep the crime down. He comes from the third world, so, how is he exactly going to implement that? How's it going to go? He always films these little hokey videos, he likes to do these performative videos like he was doing on the campaign trail. What's the future of New York City going to look like? The greatest city in the world that elected a third worlder after we got attacked on September 11th by third worlders and some other people. What's it going to look like? Is it going to stay together? Is it going to crumble and fall apart? I think we have our answer in the first couple of weeks from Zoran. A bizarre clip here. Roll it.
We are speaking about a fiscal crisis at the scale greater than the Great Recession. And so there will not be one single thing that can answer that crisis. It will require us to pursue every single avenue. That means looking inward into savings and efficiencies. That also means raising taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers and the most profitable corporations. And it means recalibrating the relationship with the state.
So, wait a minute. So the city that pays the most in taxes in the world now is saying that they don't have any money? Now, I understand that New York City is probably a little bit more difficult to run than, let's call it, any city in Florida. I understand it's a bigger place, more people. But you take a shit ton more money in. So where did all that money go? And by the way, when I look around New York City, again, $1 billion budget, you don't see anything. You don't see paved roads. They're a joke. You see messy infrastructure. You see crime. You see trash bags all over the place because the garbage people aren't coming. New York City is a shell of itself. The buses don't run on time. The subway is dirty and slow. The homeless are all over the place. The red tape is out of control. Taxes, permits, fees, etc. How can you live in a city like that? And then Zoran says, no, we've taken the most from you, but now we need to raise more. Do you know why people vote for Zoran? Do you know how Democrats say this repeatedly and get away with it? Is because their voters don't even pay taxes. How much money do you have to make, Frankie, to start paying taxes? Like if you make under like, if you make under like 25,000, you don't pay taxes. You make under these people make $0 of independent income. They make money from the state, but when you make welfare, you don't pay taxes on welfare. Think about how crazy that is for a minute. Like you're just like, imagine a life where you're not paying taxes. Just think about that for a minute. You're not paying taxes. You're making nothing. You get money from the state. That's it. So when they hear Zoran say we need to raise more taxes because we're going to have a financial problem, they think, oh, I need to vote for Zoran because he's going to raise taxes to help me afford my EBT. And then you have, I think the statistic was, it's like, I don't remember what the number was, but it was like astronomically high. It was like, what was it, Frankie? 5 in 10 or 10, I don't know what the number was. 5 in 10 people rely on EBT assistance in New York or something like that. Yeah. It was like a really high, it was like an astronomically high number. I think it was like 4 in 10 or 5 in 10 people. So you're telling me that 40 to 50% of the population has zero net positive worth to the economy. So we give to them. How is that a sustainable process? They have zero net worth. And the most profitable corporations are going to pay more. Yes, Frank.
Over 30% of New York City households, rely on EBT. About 21% of the population, which is wild.
So how can you have a city that functions and blame people who are working and already paying the highest taxes in the world? How can you? What if Zoran just said, everybody here is not working, taking EBT. We want to take half of those people and turn them into taxpayers. We want to turn them into productive members of society. So they then can pay taxes, and they then stop us having to spend so much money on these programs. Well, wouldn't that solve the problem? But they'll never say that because that would piss off their subhuman voting bloc. This is where we're at right now. We have systems in place that were designed with good virtue, welfare. It makes sense. We're the richest country in the history of the world. We can't help our own that are really suffering on hard times. I believe in that. But it just gets bastardized because these people have no moral compass. That's what it comes down to. No faith base, no moral compass. And this is what we get. And by the way, I mentioned out in New York it was snowing. Were they even able to get the bus stops plowed in the midst of the snow so people can get to work? Remember the fast free buses? Hey, Zoran, before you do fast free buses, how about you figure out how to plow the bus stops, you idiot? Roll it.
Okay, there's somebody having to walk in Madison Avenue, running up to try to catch the bus because here is a bus shelter. It is on Madison Avenue and 49th Street, and it does not have a path to be able to access the bus. It's got snow piled in front of it. Here we go. There's that one. And then guess what? Take a look down here.
It's the best independent journalism.
Another bus shelter, and snow piled in front of it. No path to get from the shelter to the bus on Madison Avenue.
Yeah, so we can't even plow the path for people to get onto the bus. So how are we going to afford fast, free buses when right now we can't even afford the snow removal in a 5-foot radius so people can wait at the bus stop? How's that going to happen? Zoran said, we're going to head for the Great Recession in New York City. We need to tax more. Frankie, your thoughts?
We have a lot of problems, Mike. New York City has a lot of problems, but one of those problems is not that we need more taxes. I could tell you that much. And, after COVID and all these companies moving to Florida and Texas, I mean, for him to just get up there and basically shout that there's like an emergency of the state, like it almost looks like he's prepping himself for like to put some emergency mandates down, to get some legislation passed that can't be done, because it's just like, dude, you're in here for how long? And you're just saying, oh my goodness, there's the biggest problem in the world. We got to bring up your taxes. We got to do this. It's like, dude, How much more can these companies pay? It's like, and let's just be real. Start with the scaffolding, okay? If you've been to New York City recently, there is scaffolding everywhere. Why? Because it keeps the building from being liable if anything just falls off. Because, like, I don't know, we have the scaffolding up, so they never take it down. It must be required. Unless there is construction or a current possibility of something caving, get rid of the scaffolding. It's disgusting, and all the homeless people do pull-ups on it. All right? Just from one New Yorker to another.
That's what we call the crackhead strength, you know, when they start doing pull-ups on the bar. No, it's absolutely disgusting. Again, it resembles third worldism. You know, I said it earlier in the show how you go around and you look around, and then if you go into a foreign country, you look on the street and you go, why does this street look third world? Go take a look at how New York City used to look. You know, Trump posted this meme of people walking down the street in New York, like back in like the 60s or something like that. And people are like, that's racist. Why is it racist? Because it looked nice? I don't understand. Like, are the leftists saying when they call that racist that because it looked nice, it's racist? I mean, what are they getting at there? It is so unbelievable.
Our streets used to be so nice, Mike, that our immigrants thought that the streets were paved in gold. And when they got here, they were like, these will work. These are good enough. That's right. How beautiful they were. Okay.
That's right. You ever see the videos and pictures of that? That's when we had a European country, not Somalis. All right, quick break. We'll be right back to wrap the show. Don't go anywhere.
With riots and violent looting going on all over the country, I don't feel safe leaving the house without this banana. Normally, I would be worried about this creepy guy, but I've got my banana with me. That same car has been sitting outside my house for a while now. Better keep this banana by the door.
Sounds ridiculous, right? Now imagine this banana was capable of incapacitating an attacker from over 60 feet.
At Byrna, we don't sell bananas. Go to Byrna.com to learn more.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, Bat.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
There are a few things more aggravating than seeing your tax dollars wasted by the government. All too often, when big government tries to save the day, the funds sent around the world to help people in need are diverted by corrupt leaders to line their own pockets, enrich their cronies, or further an agenda that has nothing to do with helping their countrymen. You can do a better job at promoting freedom than any government can. Scan the QR code now or visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV today to join the worldwide freedom movement. With your gift of just $19 a month, we'll send you an Atlas Network exclusive hat. Plus, we'll send the print edition of our Freedom's Champion magazine to your door. We identify, train up, and celebrate local leaders as they work to make freedom a reality across the world. Our partners often risk everything, their reputations, their livelihoods, even their lives to fight for freedom in places where authoritarianism reigns. Visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV or scan the QR code to join our mission to help pro-freedom organizations around the world. Donate $19 a month to receive your exclusive Atlas Network hat.
And welcome back to the show, everybody. Mike Crispi here, and we've been talking in this episode about the large-scale fraud in which we are being, I guess, subjected to by our leaders, by some of them at least, by many of them. And I really think that the number one thing that the Senate Republicans and the House Republicans need to get done is the SAVE Act. If those of you who do not know, the SAVE Act is the changing of how federal elections take place. Now, you're not going to solve the entire world on this because the jurisdiction of the federal government, can obviously only be extended to federal elections. You can't really make it for local elections. But right now, the way it is that elections are not federalized. Elections are all done at the local level, even elections for the federal level. So the Democrats have always said that they want to change that. The Democrats want to pass legislation to basically, codify the non-need to have any type of ID or proof of anything. It's funny because the Antifa thugs were asking journalists in the area to show their ID to prove they're not ICE, but when you go vote, ID is racist and doesn't matter, right? That's what they say. So the thought process on the SAVE Act is you create a necessity for voter ID and basic things in federal level elections, and states then must enforce it because it's federal law, and federal law trumps state law, and everybody knows that's how it works, except for, I guess, the DA of Philadelphia. But the SAVE Act is something that John Thune hasn't seemed to have spoken a lot about. He's the Senate leader, but this thing needs to pass. If this thing doesn't pass, I myself will be, after Trump, will be done with the Republican Party if they cannot pass the SAVE Act. The whole thing will need to be ripped down because there will be a bunch of freaking clowns if they cannot get the SAVE Act passed. Because let me tell you something, when a law is enacted and signed into law, it's very hard to get a law unsigned into law. It's very, very hard to do. So the fact that Republicans have an opportunity to pass the SAVE Act and create these basic things, and then Democrats then will have to try to undo it and do their own bill where they're saying, like, no voter ID, like, it'd be very hard to do. So you would then, in essence, save the sanctity of congressional elections and presidential elections. That would prevent the cheating in those elections from occurring if we get the SAVE Act passed. Now, again, that's not going to stop the cheating in governor elections. It's not going to stop the cheating in state legislature races, and those are very important things. But this is something. And if Republicans cannot get this done, they have proven they can't do anything. Let's listen to John Thune.
Urge the passing the SAVE Act as well as many MAGA Republicans. What is the holdup in the Senate? Why hasn't that been brought to the floor for a vote? And what's your stance on requiring proof of citizenship to vote in elections?
Well, I'm for that. I've co-sponsored the SAVE Act in the past. I think my understanding is that they are still modifying the bill. It includes right now a requirement that you be a citizen to register to vote, but it doesn't include a requirement that to vote you be a resident. So in other words, if you're going to have what we call voter ID or photo ID when somebody goes into the ballot box to vote, that's not currently covered in the bill. So that's being fixed and addressed, and I think the new bill that comes out hopefully will deal with that.
But you know what's interesting is that these people act like they're so smart. You know, John Thune, Langford next to him. It's like, what are you? Not going to curse. But it's like, but dude, you didn't have that in the version of the bill? You have to go edit it? Like, nobody thought about that? It's like, what kind of freaking scam are these guys running? That's why I have no respect. I tell you, people who respect politicians are sheep losers. And I'm trying to pick my words carefully here. Because these people aren't. Look at these people. They're not smart. They're pawns. And then when they have a little bit of an ego, they always have egos. Like they're so smart and important. It's like, oh yeah, really? Okay, genius. So you're meaning to tell me you had a bill that you put out, but the people who wrote the bill, your people, they forgot to put in the fact that, only citizens can vote? What? It just doesn't sound right to me. So if they don't pass it, this is the litmus test. This is the watershed. It's over for the Republican Party after Trump's over if they don't pass the SAVE Act. They don't deserve anything. The Democrats are playing for keeps. Take a look at this.
A judge is throwing out the boundaries of the only congressional seat in New York City represented by a Republican. The judge is ordering the state to redraw the district ahead of the midterm elections. The seat for Southern Brooklyn and Staten Island is currently held by Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis. Republicans are expected to appeal that decision.
So the judge threw out the congressional map in New York for that district because it wasn't minority enough and it was gerrymandered. Take a look at the geography there. It's a solid blob. Do you see the way they do like the snaking geographies on these congressional maps to try to get in like the left-wing cities and stuff like that? It's not a very gerrymandered district if you ask anybody. It's an entire freaking island called Staten Island. It's the whole island. And then part of Southern Brooklyn, which is right on the other side of the island. How is that gerrymandered? I'm telling you, they play for keeps. Will the Republicans play for keeps with the SAVE Act? Let's see. All right, guys, that's all the time that we have on the show today. We love you. We appreciate you. What an episode. We thank you, and we'll see you back live next week.
Mama, look.
It's just like our new house.
Warranty! I hope you have an American Home Shield warranty. Leaky toilet? Fixed. Clogged AC coils? Fixed. Oven beyond repair? Ta-da! Ta-da! If AHS can't fix your covered item, then replace it, no matter its age.
A warranty is smart.
Oh, a happy family.
Is that us?
Too much. American Home Shield. Sign up today at ahs.com.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shop. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created